Have you ever wondered why some people walk away from something real as if it's nothing, only to later drown in regret when they realize what they lost? It's a strange paradox, isn't it? They think replacing you will be easy, like swapping out an old shirt for a new one. But here's the hard truth. It's never that simple. Why do we so often underestimate the depth of value in the quiet, consistent presence someone offers? Why do so many fall for the illusion that novelty can outshine authenticity? This is a trap that keeps many trapped in cycles of disappointment, yet it doesn't have to be that way for you. What if I told you there's a powerful secret behind why some people are truly irreplaceable? Not just in their absence, but in the way they silently build strength and self-worth. This isn't about flashy gestures or loud declarations. This is about the Stoic relationships that thrive in stillness and integrity, about the quiet power of self-evolution rooted in Stoicism itself. Imagine waking up one day knowing you are no longer someone who chases validation or tries to prove their worth. Instead, you become a force so grounded in your truth that others are left wondering if they ever really knew you at all. How does one reach that level? What does it mean to rise in silence when the world expects noise? How do you hold your dignity when those who left you are busy pretending they've moved on? These questions aren't just philosophical, they're deeply personal, and they hold the keys to transforming pain into power, regret into redemption. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden layers behind the illusion of easy replacement, the quiet devastation of absence, and the unstoppable growth that comes when you stop chasing and start becoming. This is a call to all who have been undervalued, dismissed, or misunderstood, to those who are ready to reclaim their narrative and embody the strength of Stoic relationships. Stay with me, because what follows will challenge everything you thought you knew about loss, love, and self-respect. Ready to discover the truth? Let's dive deep. 1. The illusion of easy replacement. The belief that someone meaningful can be effortlessly replaced is one of the most dangerous illusions we confront in relationships and life. How often do we see people walking away with casual confidence, assuming the next person will fill the void without hesitation or consequence? They carry this quiet arrogance, this subtle contempt for what they had, because they live in a world obsessed with instant gratification and constant novelty. The illusion is born from shallow perceptions shaped by fleeting social validation and the incessant noise of curated lives on social media, where options appear endless and feelings are reduced to disposable moments. But what lies beneath this surface-level thinking? Why do so many believe that love, loyalty, and deep connection can simply be swapped out like interchangeable parts? The answer is rooted in misunderstanding the nature of true value and the Stoic relationships that transcend ordinary attachments. To grasp this, we must ask ourselves, what does it mean to be replaceable? Is it the loudest, most dramatic presence that holds the most weight, or is it the steady, silent consistency that forms the bedrock of genuine connection? In a culture that often confuses excitement with significance, many mistake the thrill of novelty for the substance of authenticity. They overlook the profound truth that what you offered, the unwavering loyalty, the quiet presence, the genuine understanding, is a rare gift disguised as ordinary. The world they sought to find after you was glittering but hollow, bright yet fleeting, an illusion that ultimately exposed their shallow expectations. This illusion is not a flaw of the individual, but a symptom of a greater cultural shift away from meaningful engagement and towards surface-level distraction. How often do we hear stories of people chasing after the next best thing, only to realize later that what they left behind was irreplaceable? Their impatience blinds them to the depth of what was given freely, and their ego convinces them that someone else will do better, be easier or bring more excitement. But excitement fades, character and presence endure. This is where Stoicism offers its profound wisdom by teaching us that value is found not in external validation, but in inner discipline and authenticity. Seneca reminds us that the things we often dismiss are the very things that sustain us, yet our opinions about them cloud our judgment. Those who walked away believed you were just a chapter, a temporary thrill, a passing moment easily replicated. What they failed to understand was that you were the whole plot twist, the unexpected and essential shift in their story that they could never truly rewrite or erase. Imagine a gold coin tossed aside for something that only glimmers faintly in the sun but lacks true worth. That's the tragedy of easy replacement. They confuse surface shine for lasting value, noise for substance, novelty for depth. This illusion breeds regret, but it also conceals a deeper lesson about self-worth and the power of Stoic relationships. To be truly replaceable, one would have to be easily forgotten, indistinct and shallow. But you were none of those things. You were consistent when others faltered, loyal when others wandered, steady when others faltered in the storm. How can something so grounded be mistaken for something transient? Because in a world fueled by instant gratification, patience and depth appear boring, even inconvenient. Yet, this impatience is the very thing that condemns them to a cycle of regret. They confuse consistency with stagnation, loyalty with obligation, and silence with weakness. But what if the real power is in the stillness, in showing up every day without fanfare or noise? What if the greatest strength lies in being so rooted in your values that when you leave, your absence feels like gravity itself being pulled from their world? This is the paradox of irreplaceability. They took you for granted because they did not see the quiet foundations you laid beneath the surface of your presence. They were blinded by neon lights and distractions, unable to appreciate the natural beauty that required no embellishment. The illusion of easy replacement is a mask that ego wears to protect itself from vulnerability and fear of loss. It convinces them that the grass is always greener, that the next connection will be smoother, simpler, more exciting. But real connection is never easy. It demands presence, patience, and sometimes pain. They walked away thinking it was a game of switching players, not realizing it was the entire field they abandoned. Stoicism teaches us not to chase what is outside our control and to recognize that often the greatest losses come from what we fail to appreciate while we have it. This understanding cuts through the fog of ego and illusion, revealing the truth that what you gave was not a commodity to be traded, but a rare alignment of values and spirit. The people who think replacing you is easy lack the depth to see your worth, and in that shallow gaze, they trade gold for glitter. They step into a world that looks exciting but is ultimately empty, a world of noise without meaning, distractions without fulfillment. Their mistake is not in leaving, but in failing to recognize that some things cannot be replicated, only remembered. What remains when all the noise fades? What echoes when the superficial connections fall away? The answer is the silence you left behind, the powerful silence of someone who never begged for attention but commanded respect through unwavering authenticity. In that silence, regret begins to build, quietly and relentlessly. The illusion they lived in shatters when they faced the stark reality that they did not upgrade. They downgraded with glitter. How many times have you seen people return to the memory of what they lost, haunted by the calm presence they once ignored? This is the tragic outcome of mistaking availability for dispensability and confusion for connection. It is here, in this painful realization, that Stoicism offers its balm, not by encouraging bitterness or revenge, but by guiding us to rise above with dignity discipline, and self-mastery. The lesson in the illusion of easy replacement is not about them. It's about you. It's about recognizing your own value and refusing to be defined by the shallow judgments of those who couldn't see you. It's about embodying the strength that comes from being grounded in your truth, so that even in absence, your presence is undeniable. How will you carry yourself when those who left begin to drown in their regret? Will you lower yourself to prove your worth, or will you rise in silence, letting your evolution speak louder than any words? This question is at the heart of Stoic relationships, where true power lies not in chasing, but in becoming, not in noise, but in stillness. The illusion of easy replacement is a story they tell themselves to mask their fear of loss and vulnerability. But you know better. You know that your value is not measured by how easily you can be swapped out, but by how deeply you are felt when you are gone. So the next time you see someone walking away with confidence, remember, they are not stepping into something better, but into a void that will echo with your absence. And as they stumble in that silence, your steady growth and quiet strength will be the testament to what they truly lost. This is the paradox of Stoicism. While the world chases noise, you build power in silence. While others seek validation, you embody value in your presence. And while they remain trapped in illusion, you rise beyond it. The illusion of easy replacement is not just a mistake they make, it is a profound invitation for you to deepen your understanding of your own worth and the kind of relationships that last beyond superficiality. It calls you to embrace Stoicism not as a passive acceptance, but as an active transformation, a way to turn loss into liberation and absence into undeniable influence. How will you answer that call? Will you allow yourself to be underestimated again, or will you become so grounded in who you are that their regret becomes the soundtrack of their own awakening? This is the power of Stoic relationships. This is the path of growth and authenticity that leads not to chasing, but to becoming, not to losing, but to rising. The illusion of easy replacement is just the beginning of their story, but it can be the end of yours if you choose to claim your value and walk forward with unwavering discipline and quiet confidence. They may think replacing you is easy, but you know better, and that knowledge is your greatest strength. 2. The echo of your absence. The absence of someone who truly mattered is not a void that can be easily filled. It is a presence that lingers long after the physical form is gone, echoing through the empty spaces they once occupied. Have you noticed how silence can sometimes be the loudest message? How the quiet moments, those unspoken spaces between conversations or shared glances, carry a weight no words can match. When someone undervalues your presence, they often fail to understand that your departure doesn't erase the energy and calm you brought into their world. Instead, it leaves a vacuum so profound that it becomes impossible to ignore. What does it feel like to be missed, not just as a memory, but as a steadying force that once anchored their chaos? This echo doesn't announce itself with fanfare or drama. It creeps in like a tide, slowly washing over every part of their life, reminding them of what they lost but never fully appreciated. They might laugh and post photos with smiles that don't reach their eyes, convince themselves that life feels freer now. But beneath those facades is a growing emptiness that no new face or fleeting moment can fill. This is the cruel irony of losing someone irreplaceable. The spaces you once filled become glaring reminders of absence, not just in the physical, but in the spiritual sense. When they walk into a room that once carried your scent, now bland and hollow, or when they scroll through silent conversations and deleted memories, they begin to grasp the depth of what they discarded. Yet, why does it often take this long and this much silence for the truth to seep through? Why is it that they only start to feel your impact when you've already moved on? This is where Stoicism offers us clarity, teaching us that what is not ours to control, we must let be. And what remains within our power is how we carry ourselves in the face of their silence. They do not suffer because you left. They suffer because they failed to value the presence you were willing to give freely. Their regret grows, not from what you did, but from what they overlooked. The steady peace you offered in moments of chaos, the unwavering loyalty when the world was flaky, the quiet understanding without judgment. This absence is not just the lack of a person, but the loss of a sanctuary they never realized they had. And what happens when that sanctuary is gone? They search desperately for something to replace it, but the truth is, there is no substitute for authenticity and depth. They try to fill the void with noise, distractions, or shallow connections, but these only amplify the silence you left behind. In Stoic relationships, the weight of absence is a profound teacher, forcing us to confront not only what we lost, but who we have become in response. Have they truly moved on, or are they trapped in the cycle of chasing shadows that remind them of you? What does it mean to be remembered not as a fleeting chapter, but as a standard of presence that everything else pales beside? Their echo is a reflection of your impact, silent, undeniable, and growing louder with every passing day they spend trying to fill your place. It's a haunting that doesn't come with apologies or explanations, but with the steady realization that some connections are not just irreplaceable, they are transformational. They lose not just a person, but a part of their own equilibrium, their peace, their balance. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control the actions or perceptions of others, but we can master our own responses and embody the discipline to rise above the noise. Your absence becomes your power, a quiet fortress of self-respect and growth that they cannot breach. They might try to reach out with a like, a subtle message, a reaction on a story, but it's too little, too late. The distance you created was not out of spite, but a boundary carved from strength and clarity. This boundary speaks louder than any argument, any plea, any attempt to reclaim what they lost through superficial means. How do you hold this boundary firm without bitterness or regret? How do you transform their silence into your sanctuary? The answer lies in embracing the Stoic mindset, accepting that some lessons come in the form of absence, that some relationships are meant to teach us the power of self-sovereignty. You become the calm in the storm, the steady presence in your own life while their world spins in restless noise and futile attempts to replicate what once was. Have you ever wondered why some people seem so cold after leaving? Is it fear, pain, or the deep wisdom of knowing that some things are better left in the past? They walk away, not because they don't feel, but because they are afraid to face the truth of what they left behind. Their pride acting as a shield against vulnerability and the crushing weight of regret. Yet their silence betrays them. It's in those quiet moments alone, in the stillness when the distractions fade, that they feel the full force of your absence. What you once brought effortlessly, the peace, the understanding, the loyalty, becomes a ghost they chase but cannot catch. This haunting is a slow unraveling, not a dramatic collapse. It is waking up with an ache they cannot name, sitting in crowded rooms feeling more alone than ever, laughing without joy. The echo of your absence is relentless because it is tied to what they refuse to see in you. Not just a partner or a friend, but a sanctuary, a grounding force, a rare alignment of values and spirit. It is here that Stoicism teaches us the greatest lesson: to master what is within us, to build our lives around principles that no absence can shake. Your growth is the answer to their regret. You don't chase the echoes or try to fill the voids they left behind. Instead, you rise in your own discipline, your own truth, unshaken and unapologetic. They might pretend they don't care, mask their pain with social media posts or hollow smiles, but deep inside, the weight of what they lost settles in like a tide that won't recede. How do you watch this unfold without falling into the trap of seeking validation or closure from those who chose to leave? How do you honor your own journey while their world crumbles quietly? The key lies in stoicism, not in reaction or retaliation, but in becoming so grounded that their regret becomes irrelevant to your peace. Your absence is a message, a mirror reflecting what they failed to cherish. It is a presence felt most deeply in the silence they try to avoid. And as they grapple with this truth, you stand firm, not to punish but to protect your own evolution. This is the power of Stoic relationships, the understanding that true connection cannot be forced, only earned and respected. Your silence is not emptiness, but a declaration. You will no longer be the safety net for those unwilling to appreciate it. In embracing this, you reclaim your narrative, turning absence into influence, loss into liberation. They drown not in drama, but in the quiet knowledge that they lost someone rare. This realization is slow, steady, and unforgiving because it is not loud. It is the sound of their own conscience finally waking up. As you move forward, remember this: their silence is not peace. It is pressure. It is the weight of their own choices settling around them, and your power is in rising above it with grace and discipline. How will you carry yourself knowing the echo of your absence speaks louder than any words? Will you let it be a burden or a beacon? The Stoics guide us to choose the latter, to see absence not as loss, but as transformation. As we close this reflection, I invite you to acknowledge the power in your own silent presence. If this message resonates with you, if you recognize the strength in letting your absence speak volumes, then like this video and comment number 1 below to show your commitment to rising in silence. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter where we explore how to build beyond regret and become truly unshakable in your own growth. Your journey is just beginning, and the best is yet to come. 3. The rebound delusion, temporary highs, lasting emptiness. One of the most common misconceptions about moving on is the belief that jumping into someone new immediately after loss can heal the wounds left behind. That a fresh face, a new distraction, or a quick replacement can erase the deep imprint you left on their life. But how often does that illusion prove true? How often does the pursuit of novelty mask pain rather than dissolve it? The rebound delusion is a trap, a shallow refuge for the ego, desperate to avoid the discomfort of real healing. It promises excitement, connection, and freedom, but delivers only an echo of what once was, a hollow substitute lacking the substance and depth that true relationships require. Why do so many fall into this pattern, convincing themselves that moving quickly means moving forward? What does this reveal about our human tendency to avoid pain by chasing temporary highs? The answer lies in the way the mind copes with loss. Instead of processing grief, regret, or the complexity of what was left behind, they bury those emotions beneath layers of distraction and superficial connection. They seek validation from new partners, hoping to prove to themselves and the world that they are fine, that they are desirable, that they have moved on. Yet this coping mechanism is deceptive because it does not address the core issue, it only postpones it. In the chaos of fleeting flings and surface-level encounters, they mistake activity for progress, noise for healing. What does Stoicism teach us about this? It reminds us to be wary of appearances and to cultivate inner strength that is not swayed by external turmoil. Just as nature encounters obstacles and transforms them into fuel, so must we recognize that running from pain through rebound connections is not growth, but avoidance. They may smile louder, post more frequently, surround themselves with new faces who don't know the depth of their past, But beneath that veneer, a quieter truth festers, a growing awareness that the new connections lack the peace, understanding, and loyalty they once had. Have you ever witnessed someone who seemed so carefree after a breakup, only to watch them struggle with loneliness once the distractions fade? That loneliness is the shadow of what they truly miss, the calm presence that once anchored their life. The rebound is a sugar rush, sweet and easy to swallow at first, but leaving them hungrier for something real once the initial high dissipates. Emotional connection is not a copy-paste feature. It is an experience crafted through patience, vulnerability, and time, none of which can be rushed or faked. Why does this reality seem so elusive to those caught in the rebound cycle? Because it requires facing discomfort and sitting with silence, the very things the rebound seeks to avoid. This avoidance prolongs pain and delays true healing. They confuse detachment with liberation, impulsiveness with empowerment, and distraction with freedom. But freedom rooted in denial is fragile and fleeting. The truth catches up in the quiet moments when the parties end, when the DMs dry up, when the loud noise that once drowned out memories fades. That's when regret creeps in, quiet, persistent, and unrelenting. How often do we see people trapped in comparison loops, measuring every joke, every smile, every gesture against what they had before, only to find nothing measures up? This torment is self-inflicted because they seek to recreate something unique and irreplaceable with something fundamentally different. It's the difference between nourishment and candy. One sustains, the other deceives. This ongoing comparison becomes a prison from which they cannot escape, haunted by the presence you once were. They try to convince themselves that the new connection is enough, but inside, the echo of your consistency and care grows louder than any superficial thrill. How do they cope with this growing dissonance? Some try to silence it with more noise, others with denial, but the ache remains, a quiet reminder of what they lost and cannot regain. Stoicism offers a way out, not through chasing or clinging, but by cultivating discipline, patience, and self-awareness. It teaches that healing is quiet work, often unseen and uncelebrated, much like roots growing beneath the surface. The growth you see in others' rebounds is often a facade, a show for an audience unaware of the internal struggle. Meanwhile, those who embrace Stoic relationships learn to stay rooted in what they can control, their reactions, their values, their next steps. This steadiness is what true healing looks like. They don't need to prove their worth to anyone. They don't need to rush into new arms or seek quick fixes. Their power lies in their silence, their ability to hold space for themselves without distraction or drama. What happens when the rebound high fades and the emptiness remains? This is the moment of reckoning, the crossroads where growth or relapse takes shape. Will they face the silence or fill it again with noise? Will they learn from the past or repeat the cycle? This is where many falter, caught between fear of loneliness and fear of vulnerability. But the Stoics remind us that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Healing requires sitting with discomfort, facing the shadows, and allowing time to do its transformative work. You can't outrun regret, but you can outgrow the need to chase distractions, the strength to wait, to build quietly, and to honor your own pace is the greatest revenge and the deepest healing. Have you ever noticed how the most resilient people are not those who shout their victories, but those who grow in silence? This is the power of Stoic relationships, the understanding that true connection cannot be rushed, replicated, or replaced. It must be nurtured with patience and presence. The Rebound Delusion is a siren song promising escape, but delivering only delay. The choice to break free from it is a commitment to oneself, a vow to value your own growth over fleeting validation. As you watch others stumble through rebounds, ask yourself, are you ready to become the steady force they once had? Are you prepared to rise above the illusions and embody the discipline of stoicism in your relationships? This path is not easy, but it is transformative. It calls you to build beyond the noise, to deepen beyond the surface, and to become unshakable. In your truth, in the next phase of this journey, we will explore how to transform the pain of loss into the power of presence and how to use your silence as a foundation for unstoppable growth. Until then, reflect on this. Healing is not a race, and growth is not a performance. It is the quiet evolution that happens when you stop chasing and start becoming. 4. The comparison trap they can't escape. When someone leaves behind a connection as real and steady as yours, they don't just lose a person, they lose a standard, a benchmark against which all future experiences will inevitably be measured. Have you ever wondered why, after walking away with such certainty, they find themselves trapped in an endless loop of comparison, unable to move forward? Why does every new conversation fall flat, every laugh feel forced, and every moment of silence become awkward instead of comforting? The answer lies in the irreplaceable nature of what they had with you and their desperate, often unconscious, attempts to find it again in others. This comparison trap is not a battle against you, but a battle against their own regrets and illusions. It starts subtly, maybe with a fleeting memory triggered by a song, a phrase, or a familiar gesture. Suddenly, the new person they're with seems to fall short. The spark isn't there. The depth they once took for granted is missing. This realization gnaws at them quietly, day after day, until it becomes a constant, tormenting presence. They begin to notice the differences, the way you listened attentively, how you understood without needing explanations, the way your loyalty showed up, even in inconvenient moments. These are not qualities easily found, much less replicated. And so, the comparison grows, becoming a prison of their own making. They look at others through the lens of what they lost with you and find themselves perpetually disappointed. Every attempt to recreate what was lost fails because what you shared was unique, an alignment of values, trust, and emotional presence that cannot be copied. How often do we see this pattern, where the pride of walking away initially masks a deep sense of loss, only to be replaced by a slow, painful awareness that what they left behind was gold and what they pursued afterward is merely glitter? This is the harsh truth that pride prevents them from admitting even to themselves. They believe they made the right choice, convinced by ego and the allure of novelty, yet they are haunted by the ghost of what was. The Stoics teach us that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. In this case, their distorted opinions, clouded by entitlement and fantasy, blinded them to your true worth. They thought they could find better, but now they see the cracks in their new choices and feel the weight of what they lost. This comparison trap is torturous because it isolates them in a cycle of regret without relief. They can't move back, and they can't move forward without healing. The new connections feel mechanical, energyless, lacking the authentic presence you once brought. Every interaction becomes a reminder of the peace and stability they traded for something shallow. It's a constant, subtle reminder that they didn't just lose you. They lost a part of themselves, the calmer, more understood, more respected version of who they were when they were with you. This realization hits like cold water to the face, and it doesn't come with apologies or grand gestures. It comes in moments of quiet desperation when the facade falls away and they are left alone with the truth. And while their pride keeps them from reaching out, their hearts are heavy with the knowledge that they may never find what they lost. How do you, then, hold your ground in the face of their silent suffering? How do you guard your heart from the temptation to chase someone who is haunted by what they left behind, yet unwilling to admit it? The answer lies again in Stoicism, the philosophy of mastering what is within your control and accepting what is not. You cannot force them to appreciate you or to change their path. You cannot rewrite their story. Your power is in your own evolution and self-respect. By embodying the values they fail to see, you become a mirror reflecting not just their loss, but your own unshakable growth. Their comparison trap, while painful for them, becomes irrelevant to your peace. You're no longer emotionally available for their confusion, their attempts to fill a void you once occupied so naturally. This emotional unavailability is not coldness, it is discipline. It is the strength to say, I am no longer the person I was when you walked away. I have evolved beyond the reach of your doubt and regret. This stance is liberating. It frees you from the burden of proving your worth and invites you to live fully in your own truth. As the Stoics teach, bravery is freedom, and freedom comes from knowing your own value, independent of others' opinions or actions. You become a standard, not a shadow. The comparison trap will try to pull them back, but your commitment to yourself will keep you moving forward. You are no longer defined by their inability to see you. You are defined by your discipline, your growth, and your unwavering presence. What lessons can we draw from this? First, that true connection cannot be replaced because it is rooted in authenticity and consistency, not fleeting excitement. Second, that pride and ego are powerful forces that blind people to what they have until it is gone. Third, that growth and healing require patience and self-mastery, not chasing or clinging. This is the essence of Stoicism and the foundation of Stoic relationships. When you embody these truths, you create a life where absence speaks louder than presence and where your silence becomes the echo they cannot escape. They may never say it out loud, but every time they look for something real and come up short, they are reminded of what they lost with you. This is their quiet torment and your quiet victory. And as you stand firm in your evolution, you send a message not through words, but through being. A message that you are no longer the person they left behind, but someone new, someone powerful, someone unreachable by their past mistakes. How will you live this truth today? How will you carry yourself knowing that you are the standard to which others will forever compare? The Stoics urge us to walk with dignity, to embrace our worth as a fact, not a question, and to let our lives be the response to those who failed to appreciate us. As this reflection comes to a close, I encourage you to embrace this power. If this resonates, like this video, comment number 1 below to affirm your commitment to rising above the comparison trap, and subscribe to stay connected as we continue to explore the journey of Stoic relationships and personal growth. Remember, your value is undeniable, your presence unforgettable, and your growth unstoppable. 5. The prison of pride, why they don't reach out. Pride is a powerful, invisible force, one that builds walls higher than any physical barrier and locks people inside a prison of their own making. Have you ever wondered why some people, despite feeling the weight of regret and loss, never reach out? Why do they remain silent despite the longing and the ache you know they carry? It is because pride, often misunderstood as strength, is in fact one of the greatest chains that bind the human spirit. Pride refuses to kneel before truth, refuses to admit fault, and refuses to surrender to vulnerability. It demands that they hold on to an image of control, superiority, or indifference, even when inside they are crumbling. The question then becomes, what is the cost of pride? And how does it keep them locked away from the very connection they once cherished? They stare at your name in their phone, their fingers hovering over the keyboard, the words trapped behind the barrier of ego. What prevents them from typing that message? It is fear, fear of rejection, fear of seeing that you have moved on, fear of confronting their own mistakes and weaknesses. They want to reach out, to ask how you are, to say they messed up, to seek some form of reconciliation or closure. But pride won't let them. It tells them to protect the story they've told themselves, to maintain the illusion that walking away was the right move, that they are stronger or better without you. This internal conflict creates a battle between the heart's desire and the ego's demands, a war fought silently in the depths of their mind. The result is a silence that is deafening, not peace, but pressure building beneath the surface. How often do we mistake silence for indifference? How often do we believe that someone who doesn't speak must have forgotten or no longer cares? The Stoics teach us that appearances can deceive, that true emotions are often hidden beneath a composed exterior. Their silence is not absence of feeling, but a prison of shame and fear. It is a confession wrapped in avoidance. They cannot face you because they cannot face themselves. They hurt not because you rejected them, but because they rejected themselves. By losing someone who saw them without judgment, who showed up when no one else did. And this self-inflicted wound is the heaviest burden to bear. Yet this prison is not visible to the outside world. They wear their mask of indifference well, post their stories of thriving, and pretend that moving on was effortless. But behind that mask, the echo of your presence haunts their thoughts, infiltrates their dreams, and reminds them of a peace they once had and now desperately miss. Why do they avoid breaking their silence? Because to admit they miss you is to admit that they were wrong, vulnerable, and incomplete. Pride cannot tolerate this admission. It clings to control, even when it leads to isolation. This is the tragic irony of pride. It promises strength, but delivers loneliness. They would rather suffer in silence than surrender to the truth. How do you then respond to this? How do you protect your heart when those who hurt you are trapped by their own ego and fear? Stoicism offers guidance. It teaches us to master our own reactions and to understand that we cannot change others, only ourselves. Your peace does not depend on their recognition or reconciliation. Your dignity is maintained not by chasing or pleading, but by standing firm in your own value. They may be locked in their prison, but you have the key to your own freedom. You do not need to open their door for them. That is their journey to make when they are ready. Your role is to continue walking forward with grace, discipline, and self-respect. This mastery of self is the true power of Stoic relationships, recognizing when to hold on and when to let go without bitterness or regret. They might reach out someday, but when they do, they will not find the same person waiting to be patched up or explained to. You have evolved beyond the version that tolerated, forgave too fast, or stayed too long. Your silence is not absence, but transformation, a boundary carved from clarity and strength. You have chosen the higher ground, and in doing so, you have freed yourself from the emotional chaos that once threatened your peace. What remains is a quiet confidence and an unwavering commitment to your own growth. This is not revenge, but victory, a victory rooted in self-mastery rather than reaction. The Stoics remind us that true freedom comes from bravery, the bravery to face discomfort, to sit with silence, and to uphold our values even when misunderstood. As they wrestle with their own pride and regret, you become the embodiment of what they lost but cannot reclaim. You are the standard they failed to appreciate, the peace they took for granted, and the strength they cannot reach. And that knowledge, more than any words or gestures, is the quiet power that defines your journey forward. Pride keeps them silent, but your growth keeps you free. This is the paradox of emotional freedom. The harder their ego fights to protect itself, the more your own evolution shines as a beacon of resilience. How will you carry yourself in this space of silence and separation? Will you allow their pride to pull you into bitterness, or will you rise with dignity, anchored by stoicism and self-respect? The choice is yours, and it shapes not only your healing but your future relationships. As you reflect on this, remember that their silence is not a reflection of your worth, but a sign of their own unfinished journey. Your peace is your power, and your distance is your victory. There is no need to explain, no need to prove, no need to chase. You have done your part by showing up, by loving authentically, and by standing firm. Now it is time to honor yourself by moving forward, free from the chains of their pride and silent regret. 6. Your evolution in silence, rising beyond their reach. There is a profound strength that comes not from shouting your victories or seeking validation in the eyes of others, but from the quiet, deliberate process of evolution that unfolds in silence. Have you ever considered the power of becoming someone unreachable, not through arrogance or distance for its own sake, but through transformation so deep and authentic that no one can mistake who you have become? While others may be caught up in fleeting distractions or the noise of superficial connections, you have the opportunity to cultivate a presence that transcends their understanding, a presence rooted in stoicism, discipline, and self-mastery. What does it mean to evolve in silence? It means embracing stillness as a form of strength, choosing growth over reaction, and allowing your actions to speak louder than any words could. It means not rushing to explain yourself, not begging for recognition, but rather letting your life be the testament to the journey you've undertaken. Like a volcano that appears dormant on the surface while pressure builds beneath, your transformation may go unnoticed by the world for a time. Yet beneath that calm exterior, a storm of clarity, focus, and resilience is forming, one that will erupt with undeniable power when the time is right. They thought they could replace you because they believed you were static, predictable, and easily forgotten. But what they failed to see was that the silence they misinterpreted as weakness was actually your forge, the place where you rebuilt yourself from the inside out. How often have you witnessed others underestimate the quiet, ones only to be blindsided by their strength when it finally reveals itself? This is the nature of Stoic relationships and Stoicism itself, the understanding that true power is cultivated in discipline, patience, and self-awareness rather than in loud declarations or emotional outbursts. You have moved from being emotionally available to becoming emotionally evolved, from giving your energy freely to guarding it like a sacred vault. This evolution is not about shutting others out, but about prioritizing your own well-being and growth above all else. They never saw this coming because they were fixated on the old version of you, the one who bent, who hoped, who explained and forgave too fast. They failed to recognize that transformation is often invisible to those who are not part of it. And now, as you stand in this new identity, you become someone they can no longer reach, a standard they cannot meet, a reality they cannot access. What does it feel like to become this person? Is it loneliness, empowerment, or perhaps a combination of both? The Stoics teach us that bravery is freedom, and freedom is the courage to embrace change without attachment to outcomes or approval. You have chosen the path of least attention and most transformation, quietly rising while they remain trapped in the illusion of easy replacement. This is your moment to shine, not by seeking validation, but by embodying the values that define your true self. As they scramble to stay afloat in shallow waters of distraction and superficiality, you have become the ocean, vast, deep, and unstoppable. Your silence is no longer absence, but presence, presence of discipline, clarity, and undeniable strength. They might wonder if you are stuck, frozen in pain or regret, but the truth is you are still. And there is a profound difference between stillness and stagnation. Stillness is the calm before the storm of growth. Stagnation is the silence of defeat. You have chosen stillness, and that choice has made you unshakable. How do you continue this evolution without falling back into old patterns of seeking approval or reacting to others' actions? The answer lies in the Stoic principle of focusing on what is within your control, your thoughts, your values, your actions, and letting go of what is not. You no longer answer the calls or texts that come from confusion or regret. You do not engage in battles of the ego or attempts to reclaim a past version of yourself. Instead, you walk forward, leveled up and locked in, fully aware of your worth, and unwilling to settle for less than what you deserve. This evolution is not about revenge or proving a point. It is about reclaiming your life and your peace. It is about transforming heartbreak into identity, detachment into purpose, and silence into power. You are no longer a backup plan or a lesson for someone else's growth. You are the masterpiece of your own becoming. And this transformation, while deeply personal, sends ripples far beyond yourself. It challenges the assumptions of those who left, who believed you were replaceable or easily forgotten. It shakes the foundations of their illusions and forces them to confront the reality that they lost someone rare and irreplaceable. This is the quiet victory of Stoic relationships. The I, understanding that true connection cannot be rushed or replicated, only honored through growth and self-respect. They might come back, but not for the person they left. They come for a memory, an illusion, a version of you that no longer exists. This realization is painful for them, but it is liberating for you. You have risen beyond their reach and are no longer available for manipulation or confusion, disguised as love. Your evolution in silence is a beacon of hope for those who understand that true power lies in self-mastery and authenticity. How will you carry this knowledge forward? Will you embrace the responsibility of living as an example of Stoic strength and resilience? Will you allow your life to inspire others to rise beyond their own challenges and illusions? This path is not easy. It requires constant vigilance, courage, and commitment to your values. But the rewards are immeasurable. A life lived with integrity, peace, and unshakable confidence. As this reflection draws to a close, I invite you to affirm your commitment to this journey. If this message resonates with you, if you are ready to embrace your evolution in silence and rise beyond reach, then like this video and comment number 1 below to show your dedication. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights that guide you back to your power and peace through Stoicism and Stoic relationships. Your transformation is your greatest story, and it has only just begun. As we reach the close of this journey, it's important to remember that the story of being misunderstood, undervalued, or replaced is not a story of loss, but a story of awakening. Those who once believed you were easily replaced are now trapped in the slow, silent torment of regret, a regret that speaks volumes without uttering a word. But their pain is not your burden to carry. Your true power lies in the grace with which you rise beyond their failure to see your worth. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the actions or feelings of others, only our own responses and growth. You have shown up, stayed loyal, and evolved in ways they never imagined. In your silence, you have created a force so steady and profound that it resonates long after you have walked away. The echo of your absence is a testament to the irreplaceable presence you once embodied, a presence that will never truly be forgotten by those who failed to recognize it. This realization is not just a vindication, it is an invitation to live more deeply and authentically, to walk forward with self-respect and quiet confidence, knowing that your value is intrinsic and unshakable regardless of others' opinions or actions. The path of Stoic relationships is not an easy one. It requires patience, discipline, and above all, the courage to embrace stillness and transformation without needing external validation. It calls you to honor your own journey, to nurture your growth, and to let your life be the answer to those who underestimated you. So, as you continue this journey, Remember that true power is not found in noise or reaction, but in steady, silent evolution. You are not a memory or a lesson for others to revisit when convenient. You are the living embodiment of resilience, dignity, and self-mastery. Let this be your foundation and your guide as you rise beyond regret, beyond replacement, and into the fullest expression of your own worth and potential.